We will now consider log number 5110R1 by Ms. Strickland. For what purpose does the gentlelady from Washington seek recognition?
I have an amendment at the desk, Mr. Chair.
Will the clerk please distribute the amendment? Without objection, the reading of the amendment is dispensed with. The chair now recognizes the gentlelady from Washington for the purpose of explaining her amendment.
Mr. Chairman, I am offering a simple amendment to prohibit nepotism at the Department of Defense. And I want to say at the outset that it's unfortunate that I even have to offer this amendment. Federal law prohibits nepotism. A 1967 federal nepotism law prohibits government officials from hiring, promoting, or recommending relatives to any civilian position over which they exercise any control. But unfortunately, the Secretary of Defense either thinks he is above the law or he simply needs another reminder that we should not hire our immediate family members, including siblings or spouses, to work for you or report to you in any way.
One of the most important points to consider is that laws require enforcement, and enforcement requires accountability. A law on paper means very little if leaders believe they are above it, or if violations are brushed aside. This is why Representative Strickland argued for her amendment, to serve as a reminder that the law is not optional and that even the Secretary of Defense must follow it. Without consistent enforcement, the message sent to the public and to military personnel is dangerous. It suggests that rules are flexible, depending on who is in power. In an environment like the Department of Defense, which relies on strict discipline and absolute clarity, that perception could weaken morale and create disillusionment among service members. If they see leaders bypassing rules for personal gain, it undermines the very discipline they are expected to uphold. Another critical point is that nepotism isn't only about unfair hiring practices, it's about the risks it introduces.
Pete Hegseth's brother has an office at the Pentagon. And the Department of Defense, as we know, handles some of the most sensitive issues of national security. It is deeply concerning that the Secretary of Defense's judgment is so poor that he included his wife and his brother in an unsecured signal chat where sensitive operational details were being shared. And while the Pentagon has stated that the Secretary's wife never, quote, attended a meeting where sensitive information was discussed, that's actually contradicted by widespread press reporting. And here's why this matters. Nepotism prioritizes personal relationships over qualifications, skills, and capabilities. And by the Republican definition of DEI, another Hegseth DEI hire. When Secretary Hegseth was sworn in, he sent a message to the force which said, DOD standards will be, quote, high, uncompromising, and clear. The Secretary's use of unqualified people as his closest confidants demonstrates every single day that he's not holding himself to the standard that he demands of others. What message does this send to the troops?
The Department of Defense is one of the most critical institutions in the world, handling classified information, operational strategies, and decisions that impact not only the safety of American citizens, but also the stability of global security. Including family members in private communications, especially through unsecured chats, is not a harmless mistake. It undermines the safeguards that exist to ensure sensitive information remains protected and accessible only to those qualified and authorized. Even if no intentional wrongdoing occurred, the mere presence of family members in these discussions blurs the lines of confidentiality and accountability. It introduces vulnerabilities that can be exploited by adversaries who are constantly watching for cracks in America's defense system. One important point to consider is that this action reveals a lapse in professional boundaries. The role of Secretary of Defense requires the highest level of discipline and impartiality. Involving a spouse or sibling in matters of national defense, regardless of their intentions, creates an environment where personal ties override professional standards. This is especially concerning when those individuals do not have the security clearance, training, or expertise to participate in such conversations. The fact that operational details were allegedly shared through informal channels highlights how easily serious protocols can be disregarded. At a time when cybersecurity threats and information leaks are among the greatest risks to national safety, Choosing to involve unqualified family members demonstrates not only poor judgment, but also a disregard for the strict processes that protect America from external and internal dangers.
Making it crystal clear to this Department of Defense and to every administration after this that such behavior is unacceptable is the right thing to do. It does not matter who's in the White House. It does not matter who's Secretary of Defense. This should be a nonpartisan issue. I urge everyone to vote yes on this amendment, and I yield back, Mr. Chair.
Gentlelady yields back. Chair now recognizes himself. I agree that nepotism is not good. It's not good government, which is why I support the nepotism laws already in place. Federal law at 5 U.S.C. subsection 3110 already prohibits a federal official, including a member of Congress, from appointing, promoting, or recommending for appointment or promotion any relative of the official or any agency or department over which the official exercises authority or control. This restatement of the law is simply a vehicle to attack the president. What it does do, however, is prevent the sons and daughters of military officers or other appointed officials from serving their country. For example, the enlisted child of the 101st Airborne Commanding General would be restricted from serving in that unit. That's not acceptable. For those reasons, I oppose the amendment. Any other member seek to? Mr. Whitesides of California is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Ms. Strickland, for offering. I wish this amendment wasn't necessary, but it is. Let's be clear, the Department of Defense runs on discipline, not on dynasties. The Secretary has made a lot of noise about wanting to run his department based on merit, not on immutable characteristics, but he's not applied that same standard to himself and his family. He's employed his own brother, a podcaster without substantive government or policy experience, in an important role at the department. If the top civilian official disregards basic norms against nepotism, it sends a corrosive message down the ranks that connections matter more than conduct. This isn't about one family, it's about the future of civilian leadership. If we don't draw a line now, we're opening the door to politicized, unaccountable, family-run decision-making structures at the top of our nation's most powerful and important institutions. Make no mistake, good governance is built on norms that prevent conflict of interest. Nepotism erodes public trust, weakens morale within the department, and creates vulnerabilities in decision-making that foreign adversaries can exploit.
Another important point raised was that nepotism creates vulnerabilities that foreign adversaries could exploit. In an age where intelligence agencies, cyber attackers, and hostile powers constantly look for weaknesses, even the smallest crack in leadership integrity can be turned into a weapon against the United States. If foreign adversaries believe that family members without proper clearance or training are influencing Pentagon decisions, they may see an opportunity to target or manipulate those individuals. Nepotism, therefore, is not just a matter of fairness. It is a matter of national security. Every decision made at the Department of Defense has global consequences, and any sign of compromised judgment can embolden adversaries and weaken America's standing with its allies. A third critical point is that nepotism introduces confusion and disorder into decision-making. When family members without relevant expertise are involved, it creates overlapping responsibilities, duplicate channels of communication, and an unclear sense of accountability. Decisions at the Pentagon often need to be made quickly, based on expertise and precise information. If family members are part of that process, the risk of delays, errors, or misinformed choices increases significantly. This isn't a hypothetical danger. It's a structural flaw that can disrupt the efficiency of an organization built to respond rapidly and effectively to crises. Lawmakers like Kevin Whitesides pointed out that the Department of Defense runs on discipline, not dynasties, and that clear boundaries are necessary to prevent chaos in command structures. The final, important takeaway is that banning nepotism should not be seen as a partisan issue, but as a principle that protects the integrity of leadership itself. By drawing firm lines against favoritism, Congress can protect both current and future secretaries of defense from accusations, pressures, or temptations to involve family members. It is not only about protecting the institution, but also about protecting those who lead it from reputational harm and ethical conflicts. Upholding this principle ensures that leadership is based solely on merit, qualifications, and trust, reinforcing the credibility of American defense. The debate may have ended with the amendment failing, but the core issue remains unresolved. Nepotism is more than an internal problem. It is a threat to the trust, discipline, and security that the entire defense system relies on, and its consequences extend far beyond the walls of the Pentagon.
And let's be honest, it doesn't stop at the foreign risk. We have protocols for a reason. Nepotism introduces chaos into command. When family members are involved in informal decision-making, especially without relevant expertise or experience, it creates confusion, duplication, and risk. This amendment shouldn't be partisan nor controversial. In fact, it protects the Secretary as well. It protects him and future secretaries from being pressured or tempted to involve family inappropriately. It strengthens the office by clearly underlying its ethical boundaries and will increase the American people's trust in this institution. I urge my colleagues to support this amendment and yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Does any other member seek recognition on the Strickland amendment? There's no further debate. Question occurs on the amendment offered by Ms. Strickland. So many as are in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. Opinion chair, the noes have it. Recorded votes requested. Recorded vote is postponed.